Alright, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Raiders Daily. My name is Jackson. I post daily Raiders content, so be sure to hit that like button, hit that sub button if you guys enjoy it. So yesterday, the Kansas City Chiefs took down the Las Vegas Raiders to finish off the Raiders regular season. 6-11, unfortunately, no playoff appearance for them. Jarrett Stidham, 22-36, 219 yards, a touchdown, and an interception, and he actually led the Raiders with rushing yards. 7 carries for 50 yards. Now, we're not doing a recap here. We're talking about Jarrett Stidham, and we're going to talk so much Raiders. There is literally so much Raiders talk to go through until the start of the regular season. There's just so much to get through. So, Jarrett Stidham, 1 week ago, almost took down the San Francisco 49ers, who were and still are by far the best defense in the National Football League. And there were some rumblings, he's about to be a free agent. He got traded. McDaniels traded for him, obviously, because he's a former Patriot and he knows McDaniels' system, and it's just a reliable backup quarterback to have. And I agreed with all those points. But he absolutely slung it against San Francisco, and it kind of was like, all right, hold on. If he slings it once again against the Kansas City Chiefs, maybe they decide to stick with him for the starter for next season, at least as like a bridge starter. You draft a quarterback, and Jarrett Stidham's your bridge starter for a year or two, whatever it is. Well, I think that's pretty much kibosh now. I would still put, and I think Mitchell Renz did a good job in a video before this game even happened. I do think Jarrett Stidham is on the list for Raiders starting quarterbacks next season as far as a ranking tier goes. I would probably put it top 10, but more so towards the latter. We've seen a lot of rumblings about Lamar Jackson since the start of the season. We've seen most recently a bunch of former Patriot guys, for good reason, because of McDaniels' sophisticated offensive scheme. Tom Brady, real Raiders fans, they don't want Tom Brady. I can't blame him. He is getting up there in age. Personally, I would take Tom Brady if it were to happen, but it's not somebody I'm suggesting or urging the Las Vegas Raiders to do. I definitely am not doing that. Mac Jones is also a guy. I'm not really sold on Mac Jones being a great quarterback in the league. I honestly view him, at best, very similarly to Derek Carr, which I don't mean that disrespectful to Derek nor Mac, but I would rather go younger, like a guy like C.J. Stroud, than Mac Jones, I guess, if that makes sense. What I'm looking for, honestly, is more of a bridge starter. Jarrett Stidham, you have Jimmy Garoppolo. I've even seen some Aaron Rodgers talk recently because of the Davante Adams connection. I personally don't see Rodgers happening in a trade coming to the Raiders. As cool as I think that would be, I don't really see that happening. Now, we're still waiting for the football slate to finish off the regular season. We're still waiting for that to finalize. So, as it stands currently, it's looking like the Raiders are going to have the 7th pick in the draft, and I think that could change up to 6 by later tonight or whatever it is. But I wouldn't be surprised if Dave Ziegler and this Raiders front office decided to trade up. I don't think they'll trade up to number 1 with the Chicago Bears, although, crazier things have happened. It definitely wouldn't involve Derek Carr. I think we all can agree Derek Carr most likely, it's not a given, but I think most likely Derek Carr is going to be traded. I have a hard time believing with his bench the last couple of weeks, just the turmoil that the Raiders season has gone through. You have a new GM, you have a new head coach. I have a hard time believing Derek Carr, unfortunately, will be back in a Raider uniform, but I really don't think that's the worst thing in the world. He had a fair share. He had a fair shot, 100%, and I'm looking to take that next step. So I wish Derek nothing but the best, and this is something we'll continue to monitor and talk about for the rest of the offseason. But C.J. Stroud is definitely enticing to me. I really would love if C.J. was the guy. But, as far as that Bears draft pick number 1 goes, because I think regardless, Chicago's going to trade down. I think they're going to try and get some assets, some first-round picks, whatever they can get, and trade away from 1, maybe go to 2 or 3 or whatever, because I don't think they're going to move away from Justin Fields. So Derek Carr definitely wouldn't be involved in that trade, in my opinion. Now, we'll see what happens, though. we'll definitely see what happens. We've seen this past offseason, whether it was trading for Davante Adams or signing Chandler Jones, whatever it is, especially that Davante Adams trade where you're giving up draft capital, you're giving up draft assets to go out and get a huge playmaker. I wouldn't be surprised if they were to make some moves. But at the end of the day, there are still other holes that the Raiders need to figure out. Most notably to me, I think this is a big deal that not too many people are talking about. It's the running back room. Josh Jacobs is coming off a career year where he ran for over 1,600 yards on the season. I know yesterday against the Chiefs definitely wasn't perfect, but at the end of the day, 12 rushing touchdowns, over 1,650 yards for Josh Jacobs. They declined his contract, or his player option, or the team option, sorry. I don't think Josh Jacobs honestly comes back in a Raider uniform, which really pisses me off because I think he's one of the best running backs in the entire National Football League, but I worry that them not picking up that option means that they're going to possibly move on from Josh Jacobs, whether that's a trade or they run with him again. I don't know what it's going to be, but that's something I need. Either way, if they don't decide to trade away Josh Jacobs, you're still going to have to pay him. So that's something to note because the Raiders' defense isn't great. In fact, it's not even good. So the defense took major steps backwards this past season, and they're going to need to invest a ton of money or draft capital. Wouldn't be upset with either or hopefully it's both. They're going to need to make a lot of moves on the defensive side, actually. Same thing goes for the offensive line. I still go back to the Raiders were deploying these several different offensive line combinations in the first couple of weeks, and I remember so clearly getting a comment because that was pissing me off so much. And I know the Raiders season, it didn't start as much, it did not start the way a lot of us wanted to. They had a 5-point loss to the Chargers, started off, 6-point loss to Arizona, 2-point loss to Tennessee, and it was all right, we got to figure something out here. We definitely have to figure something out here. Offensive line made a lot of improvements from the start of the season, which is great news. And at the same time, once again, Josh Jacobs ran for almost 1,700 yards, had double-digit touchdowns. That's good news. I remember they were running all these offensive line deployments, if you will, all these different combinations. I remember getting comments saying, the Chicago Bears are doing it. It's okay. And it's just kind of funny because Chicago Bears were the worst team in the National Football League this year. So they're going to have to make some moves. Kansas City had a field day against the Raiders yesterday. As far as the offensive line goes, they had 6 sacks. I mean, Chris Jones had almost 3 and 2.5. So you got to improve the offensive line. You got to find a quarterback. You got to improve the defense. And we got to figure something out as far as the running back room. And that's just a handful of just kind of broad things. So let me know what you guys are thinking as far as the Raiders offseason goes. But most importantly, the quarterback room. Just initial thoughts before the regular season is officially over. Now that the regular season is officially over, before the end of the actual season with the playoffs. So hope you guys enjoyed. Hit the like button, hit that sub button for daily Raiders content. Drop that comment. I'll see you guys later.